full access to RFR only on Patreon. Become a member of the RFR Patreon community to get more Rebel Force Radio. Bonus shows and content are available right now only at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
All right, day 2 of Star Wars Celebration underway, and already what many consider the main event of Star Wars Celebration here in Chicago, over and done with in the history books, Episode 9 panel. And after an hour of really nothing but, honestly, a few jokes here, Stephen Colbert, Kathleen Kennedy, and J.J. Abrams with the charm and all of the humor of this great cast that assembled on the stage. There really wasn't much in terms of a reveal. Any details from Episode 9, which we can now call The Rise of Skywalker. TROS. We already shortened it. But I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm glad you're listening to us. I know that many of you've already started filling up our listener mailbox. The voicemails are coming in. The emails are coming in. And, we know that we, having the responsibility we do to leave no fan left behind here in our coverage of Star Wars Celebration, anxious to get this reaction podcast out to you. I am, of course, joined by my good friend and yours in Chicago, from Chicago,
right.
At Star Wars Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. That's right. A small Rebel force has penetrated the convention and landed in Chicago. And we were there for the Episode 9 panel this morning.
Section 106.
Section 106, which was a rockin' section. And all in all, the whole presentation was just a really spectacular display of all kind of cool things on the horizon for Star Wars Episode 9. And I have to say, after it's said and done, my anticipation for the film is obviously at an all-time high, as I am kind of on an all-time high right now as we have just left the Wintrust Arena. We are back in the Rebel Force Radio mobile studio, and we're joined by my brother and your good friend,
yes,
Billy Mack.
How are you?
And we... to give you a sense of, I don't think at this point the panel's been officially posted. You do yourself a favor, check it out. If for no other reason, the beginning and the end. The end, obviously, for the trailer, but the beginning for this really cool sizzle reel. You'd think after 13 Star Wars Celebrations and umpteen DVD and Blu-ray releases and Laserdisc releases that we've seen it all in terms of behind-the-scenes footage. But there was some really cool stuff played in this sizzle reel that really, Bill, I think set the tone for perhaps not just that panel, but Star Wars Celebration Chicago in general. It really did emphasize the original trilogy and that core trio of characters, Han, Leia, and Luke.
Yeah, it was a great montage. I'm looking forward to seeing it again. A lot of good behind-the-scenes stuff I haven't seen. And it definitely portrayed the debt, I guess you can call it, that the new movies have to the original trilogy. They gave you a lot of tie-ins. There was a lot of parallels drawn between, for instance, Peter Mayhew and showing footage of him dressing up as Chewie from the old days and juxtaposing that with the newer footage of Jonas doing the same, and actually both of them together, I think, in a couple of
making
shots.
faces in the mirror. That was
Well, that was a great shot.
Yeah, I mean, it just
the black eye makeup. And
yeah, I mean, it was great to harken back to the old days and tie it into the new. I think that seemed to be the thesis of that montage. So that was a great way to kick it off.
it looked like there was Jim. The one that jumped out at me was that what looked to be rehearsal footage of Mark Hamill, Alec Guinness, and Harrison Ford and Peter Mayhew all there in the cockpit of the Falcon, running those lines. You know, you jump too fast through a nav, blah 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 blah. And Harrison Ford demonstrating what he so famously said to George Lucas about the dialogue in Star Wars.
You can write this shit on paper, but you can't say it. But
I think he
and
said
that's a
something about
Harrison
going through a
quote.
supermarket.
Yeah, you're gonna run through the street.
Oh well, he said,
so wait,
we'll set the coordinates in the nav computer. We won't last long against that supermarket. And, and then he looks. But the greatest thing was Harrison at one point in this outtake that, I mean, we're not familiar with this outtake, right?
No.
I've never seen it.
The clip of him saying that you can bump into a supermarket.
Yeah, we'll bounce right off the supermarket.
It's shown
That's
up
what it
before.
was.
I've seen that, but
That's what it was. Yeah.
This was an extended version of it. So it was,
because even
it was way
Alec Guinness
longer
gets
than
in
anything.
on the.
Yeah. What did he
Has a
say
little
when he
quick-
walks out? I
missed
didn't
it.
catch that.
He said something, and then he made an exit.
And that whole, what's that flashing? And Harrison Ford, you can hear him stumbling through the dialogue. He's just like, oh, that's I got to hit this button and just go in the back and get, It's like,
But so that was cool. And at the end of the clip, he did look right into the camera.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you looking at? It was just I hope that's part of the stream that ended up on YouTube. And so we'll, of course, be reviewing that and everything. But if they were late starting up the stream, when we walked in there, Warwick Davis was there. He was warming up the crowd. Then Mark Daniel came out. He did his thing. Lightsabers were blazing in the auditorium. And out came the celebrity panel host.
Yeah, we've had a number of these over the years. We had
Jon Stewart,
of course,
main
for the
event.
main event, and who was the girl from The Office? Mindy
Kaling did a big press junket for.
That's right. Was that for Last Jedi?
I think it may have been. Maybe it was for The Force Awakens, but it was for one of the recent sequel films.
Right. And so this year it was Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert, everybody knows, is a huge, great big Star Wars fan. And he seemed right at home. He was dropping all kind of references, obscure. I think Nogri was probably the most obscure.
Yeah.
Dropped. And he said, if you don't know what that is, why are you here?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, no, it
was entertaining.
He did a really nice job.
It was entertaining.
He told a great sentimental story about the first time he saw Star Wars and winning the tickets to the film from the radio station growing up as a kid. And so he definitely, I think, has the credibility to host a panel like this. First guests out, J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy. Witty banter back and forth, all of them trying to dodge questions. And I understand why. It does get a little tiresome.
Yeah. It's the same old shtick now 3 times in a row.
Exactly. Yeah, we've seen it. JJ was throwing all of the hard questions over to Kathleen, and they seem to have a certain chemistry together. There were a lot of rumors after or during the production of The Force Awakens that there may have been some professional differences between the two, but after the fallout of The Last Jedi, it seems that JJ was perhaps Kathleen Kennedy's savior. And from the looks of the trailer, it looks like that may be the case. So the two of them really didn't have a whole lot to share. Kathleen Kennedy said that she takes her duty quite seriously. All of them do at Lucasfilm to carry this on for the fans. J.J. Abrams, always gracious about the cast and the crew, always giving them tons of credit for the success of the films, downplaying his own role. And the first guest out after the pair of JJ and Kathleen Kennedy was Anthony Daniels. Anthony coming out and revealing what was going to be the title of his memoirs. I didn't even know he had a book of memoirs.
And I think that's probably going to be revealed over this weekend because he did mention the publisher was going to unveil the front cover of this new book of his, and it's going to have a title, but the title he wanted to use was Tell Me the Odds. Or was it always
Tell Me the Odds?
Tell Me the Odds.
Telling
the Odds.
Telling the Odds.
Well, no, it would be Never Tell Me the Odds. Yeah. So he just does a play on that. Tell Me the Odds. No, I don't think it was Telling the Odds.
It's Telling the Odds.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's hard to hear in that big arena. You know, it's 10,000 seat arena. So, and the sound was bouncing. Me and Bill noticed that when we walked in here. It's like, wow, the acoustics are a little bouncy in this room for such a new facility. But all in all, I think the clarity of the panel was pretty good for the most part.
And they showed a great trio of photos of Anthony Daniels. There's one that's pretty famous of him. I remember it when the prequels were in production, and he's surrounded by all the pieces and parts of the 3PO costume. And then there's one very similar of him during the production of the original trilogy, and finally looks like they've done another one with him surrounded by the parts as he was working on the sequel trilogy.
I noticed the red arm in that shot, so that's a Force Awakens picture.
Yes, okay, good eye, good eye. The red arm is gone, as we know now. The clip that we saw. Well, let's talk about some of the stills. They had stills that were being shown as the panelists were talking, and 3PO, he's looking pretty good. He doesn't look all beat up or worn down. He's looking pretty shiny, I think, in this one.
Looking good for a droid on the run.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he looked a little like Return of the Jedi era C-3PO. There were a few things that made me think of Return of the Jedi in this trailer and in some of the still shots.
I think Anthony's attitude hints that we're going to see some action from 3PO.
Yeah.
Remember, he came out and he says I'm always warning people, and they're always telling me to shut up.
Yeah, yeah.
Not anymore. I think he's taking matters into his own hands now. So
I think so.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a hint.
For no doubt, no doubt. And the poster that was leaked, or we don't have no idea if it's official or the real thing, but had C-3PO with the Chewie bowcaster.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that poster is legit. I mean, although they haven't made it official, but I think we saw enough at this panel to confirm almost everything that's in that poster. Although we did not see 3PO with the bowcaster, not yet.
No, no. But and then after Anthony Daniels, Billy D. Williams making his triumphant return to the main stage of Star Wars Celebration.
Yep.
This time as a cast member. Not of a video game, not of an animated series, but a full-length motion picture. And Billy D. seemed delighted to be there, but as smooth as ever. So smooth that you might not even known he was awake throughout the whole thing. But
well, he was great. I thought he was great on stage, and he was being his typical smooth and cool self. Yeah. We got an image of what he's going to be looking like in the film, and this was the first taste we got of Lando returning to the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
The shot of him that they showed while Billy was talking was clearly of Lando in the hallways of the Millennium Falcon, which I thought, okay, maybe it was just he was just there on the set and it's a behind-the-scenes thing and everything. Yeah. But no, we'll get to more on Billy D. and his ride on the Falcon. Yeah, the real mean potatoes. But it was great. I loved it. I love seeing Billy D. Now, Billy Mack, what did you think about seeing your hero on stage? And I don't know if Puppet Lando was around. He's kind of exhausted from last night.
Puppet Lando's back in the box.
We were
he had a really rough night last night.
We were at Reggie's Music Joint, and doing RFR Live in Chicago for a packed house. It was an amazing night.
It was awesome. It was
everyone will be hearing that show probably next week. But Puppet Lando was there, and he blew the roof off the place, quite honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to see Billy D back. I mean, come on, and another confirmation that costume leak is legit. That is what he's wearing. The yellow, basically looks like a yellow version of his Cloud City outfit.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't wait to find out what Lando has been up to. What did Billy say?
Well, he was setting the record straight once again about this notion that Lando Calrissian betrayed Han Solo. And he said no. You could say it better than I did. What did he really do?
Well, he didn't betray Han Solo. He was protecting what he had and trying to help his friends. Now you got to remember. I mean, he did stand up to Darth Vader for about 3 seconds there. So I don't know.
No.
This is starting to become legit now.
Yeah.
So now it's like I really think that maybe you and Billy D. Williams have some sort of psychic connection, because you are almost
giving
ready.
His actual answer.
You're almost ready to step in for him.
Yeah, people are always coming up to me and saying, "You betrayed Han Solo." I didn't betray Han.
He said, he said this was the first time he really went further and said, no. He's like, I stopped it from being worse.
That's right.
He said, after all, nobody died.
Yeah, and of course he made the agreement that that they'd be left in the city under my supervision. So
So that was great seeing him.
He did his best.
And then they brought out the cast and all of that stuff, and they brought out the little droid that's going to be with BB-8. But I really want to jump into what we were there for, what we were there to see. This trotting out the celebrities is great, but quite honestly, I would have been fine if they weren't there, because I was there for one thing and one thing only.
And that's the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yes, so let's get to it. Let's get to this trailer. Who else was on stage, though, Jason? I see you have things scribbled down, but I don't want to talk about each one of them and things they had to say and everything. I
was just hitting the main ones.
No, we did Billy D. We got Billy D. And Anthony Daniels. To me, it's not classic Star Wars Celebration unless Anthony Daniels is on stage doing his thing.
So Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and Oscar Isaac, Kelly Marie Tran, and Jonas, whatever, and the latest member of the cast of the sequel trilogy, Naomi Ackie. She showed up in the Stephen Colbert did just come out and ask her to respond to the rumors online about her being Lando Calrissian's daughter. So she was only introduced as Jannah. That's Jannah. And Naomi's response was, anybody remember?
Yeah, that there's Lando seed planted all over the galaxy far, far away. So there could be several offsprings of Mr. Calrissian.
His charm.
Yeah, the Baron Administrator's offspring could be all over the place. So that's neither confirmation nor denial about the relationship of her character's role, if any.
Right.
But I think I'm leaning toward yes.
Oh, I think it's
absolutely a Calrissian.
We did see a production shot. She was not in the trailer, but we did see a production shot of Naomi as Jannah, and there was a lot of Lando yellow on her.
The yellow, and she's wearing a cape.
Yep.
I mean come on.
So, all the Calrissians wear capes.
She's breaking in my closet again.
But she also...
Wait, what?
Nothing.
Come on, what?
Nothing. Forget it.
PL was going to say something.
The thing that jumped out at me about Jannah's character in that shot was she looked a little rough. I mean, I don't want to say homeless, but I mean, she definitely, like, the hair was tattered, the clothes were tattered.
It's a galaxy at war, man.
She almost looked a little like Enfys Nest.
Oh, okay, yeah. There had that rough
that street
looking,
ruffian thing going on. So definitely not smooth like that. So there may be, a little bit of some estrangement going on between Daddy and
Yeah.
Jana. But here it is for those of you who haven't heard it or seen it. Here's a refresh: Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker trailer.
We've passed on all we know. 1,000 generations live in you now. But this is your fight. Always be with you. No one's ever really gone.
Wow. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. T-Ross.
Now, one thing I do want to mention, JJ did confirm that this film is an adventure story for all of the characters. This group, this gang goes on this adventure together, and we haven't quite seen that yet because they've been split up at various stages. Finn and Rey weren't even together at all during The Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back. We'll kind of go through here and just kind of grab scene by scene. I don't think we need the audio.
Well, can you give us some closed caption? Because I do have things to say about Mark's narration. I think there are clues to be found within that dialogue.
Let's see if we can do closed caption here.
So it opens up with Rey.
No, the captions are not available for the video yet.
Okay.
So they don't have a captioned version of the video on StarWars.com. But yes, so we see Rey on a desert planet, familiar desert planet. And this is most likely location footage from when they were shooting in Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about that being a big setting. And we've got a little debate going on because they show Rey's lightsaber as she grabs it from her belt. So we have this little debate going on. You know, here you see Rey. She's breathing heavily. She's waiting for something. We don't know what's coming around the corner. She reaches down for the lightsaber, the familiar Skywalker lightsaber. Looks normal. And then this second close-up, it looks shorter.
Well, and it's not just shorter too. You could see there's a black band on it now. So apparently that's where the repair was done.
Yeah,
and it does appear to be stubbier. It lost an inch or two.
In that shot, it does. Mm-hmm. But in the first shot, when it's just hanging from her belt, I think it looks more normal size. So there's some reconstruction there going on in the middle. And Daisy Ridley did confirm at the panel that the Skywalker saber lives on.
Survives, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Still has the blaster on her hip that Han Solo gave her.
Now, I don't understand how she still has ownership of that blaster, because in Episode 7 she pointed it at Kylo Ren. He with the Force, pushed her arm down and made her paralyzed. Then he snapped and knocked her out and carried her on board the shuttle.
Well,
Wouldn't they have confiscated that weapon? Or she just was still holding on to it while he was carrying her up that ramp on Takadona.
It went to the same place that Kylo Ren's helmet went, too, because that has a weird chain of possession there, because he leaves it, I think he takes it off and leaves it on that catwalk with Han Solo or something. It doesn't quite make sense how he ends up back with it again.
Right, that's true. And then, of course, he shattered the thing in episode 8.
Yeah.
Right.
So somebody had to clean it up. And what, they wouldn't throw it away? Well, just ask him. He might still want it. Well, this is junk. It's all... No, just ask him. It's his helmet.
All right, so Rey's waiting and waiting and waiting, and we hear the sound of something coming her way. Every generation has a legend. Now, this is very reminiscent of the trailer that we saw for Episode 7. And I can't remember, guys, if the Episode 8 trailer the teaser had those titles like that, too.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. The first one I remember like this was Episode 1, Phantom Menace. Every saga has a beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Every journey has a first step, that whole routine. So this is a little bit more of that.
Helicopter shot or crane shot of Jordan.
And I want to say each of these sequel trailers have opened with heavy breathing.
That is true.
Yeah.
Now, The Last Jedi, the first teaser trailer for that definitely did. The first teaser trailer for The Force Awakens didn't. That didn't. Didn't that open with a shot of BB-8 rolling on the...
Finn pops up. The first
He was,
one,
and he was heavy breathing. So
Yeah,
all 3 teaser trailers for the sequel trilogy open with heavy breathing.
Yeah.
All right.
We should do that with every episode of Rebel Force Radio. Just to give you...
Well, it does create
Like
lot
a
of
black
intensity.
black screen, yeah, and then a fade. What would it be? A fade in, fade in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fade in. Well, we see the black gloves on the controls of a TIE fighter, and talk about low altitude. This TIE fighter is chasing down Rey. This is
It's Kylo Ren's
Kylo
TIE
Ren's
Interceptor.
TIE.
And that's a great shot of the
Yeah.
TIE skimming the surface like that.
and Rey doing a backflip over it. I'll say my first gripe is I don't like the slow-mo. I don't think it's very Star Warsy.
Yeah, you
but
said-
it's a very modern convention.
You said
Used a
Crouching
lot.
Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
And boy, it got a huge reaction.
It got a huge reaction.
I thought it was
because-
The
fabulous.
place just went up for grabs. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it just kind of reminded me of that scene. The first time I saw it from Revenge of the Sith was at Star Wars Celebration 3 during their opening ceremonies. And they showed that shot of the space battle at the beginning of Episode 3 when Obi-Wan crash lands his Jedi fighter in the Separatist hangar. And as the thing is skidding across the surface, he pops out of the cockpit and does like a flip and then slices battle droids on his way down. I had a similar feeling watching Rey do that backflip over the TIE Interceptor. I can't wait to see the rest of that sequence.
It's going to be great. I don't know if she holds on to the thing and she's all of a sudden like doing a TJ Hooker where she's on basically the top of the TIE. But I could have just done without the slow-mo. I know. I love that sequence. That's that real long single shot opening of Revenge of the Sith. But the Jedi don't move in slow motion.
Have we ever seen that before?
Slow-mo in Star Wars?
Done in that way, in like a fight sequence, sort of...
I think there was some of that in Last Jedi during the fight with the Praetorian
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
When they first started to do battle with those Praetorians, there was a slow-mo
I didn't like
moment.
it then either. But again, it's just I think there's something to be said about the visual language of Star Wars, and that's not in the
It's
vocabulary.
not something George Lucas ever did.
No.
Well, those things are important. I mean, we were watching some of Last Jedi last night, and the thing that I've noticed about that movie, and not to get into a big critical thing, I'm just talking about differences, okay? There's a lot of shots in that movie where there's a very bright light shining directly at the camera. It's in the prison cell sequence on Canto Bight. It's the effect. It's like this very harsh light effect, like if you were in a room that had a bare light bulb, that didn't have a shade on it. And you see it a lot at the end of the movie when Luke shows up on what's the salt planet name? It's
Crate.
escaping me. On Crate, yeah. There's just all these shots where this light is shining directly into the camera, and it's not something you see too much in Star Wars. Or I don't think you've seen it at all. I think that was something kind of new for that movie. And I don't know, just this trailer, it's hard to judge this new movie, but it seems to be a little more consistent with the look of Star Wars. I mean, we were talking last night about Lucas using these old film techniques like wipes and irises and certain styles of framing and panning and stuff that were at the time throwbacks to older styles, even in 1977. So, I mean, that's definitely part of the familiarity with the storytelling that these films engage in.
No question. I'll follow that up with saying that one general observation here before we get back into the clips is I feel that this looks like a sequel to The Force Awakens more than a sequel to The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
Visually, this looks like J.J. Abrams' work.
Yeah,
It doesn't
definitely.
look like
I think
Rian
that's a good way,
Johnson's
yeah.
work.
I wonder why that is. Have we figured that out? Okay. On with the trailer.
On with the trailer. Okay, so after the big flip, we got This Christmas, which I'm delighted to see that. We've got an overview, and there's some debate amongst us. I think that this is wreckage of something that is revealed later in the trailer. But, Jim, you see something different here. You see perhaps a cityscape.
Yeah, and these
surrounded by
mountain
some
plateaus.
clouds.
These mountain plateaus, and it looks like there's city lights and towers.
Is that a
there.
city in the clouds?
No, this
It's very
goes back-
cloudy.
I heard a rumor, and I can't state exactly where I heard it or why it's floating around in my head. But I heard something about Rey discovering a lost city of the Jedi, and I can't quite place when I heard it, like if it was recently or if it was old, but just like Rey discovering the last city of the Jedi, and I believe the rumor said on Jakku, but.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have that bouncing around in my head right now. I can't really footnote it. And if we have, again, I guess it doesn't have to be said, but spoiler alert. We are talking rumors. We are talking about everything we saw and heard today. There's no running away from this. This is a trailer review. So if you are one of those people who want to be completely spoiler-free, it's already too late for you.
I almost think that should be part of the title of this episode of this podcast.
Yes, spoiler
RFR
alert.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well,
trailer
maybe.
review.
Yes.
Don't be mad at us.
Spoiler alert. That's what the name of the episode is.
All right.
Thanks, Jason. A lot of the heavy lifting is over with now.
Oh, right. Right. All right. We see some sort of a spacecraft with dual engines making its approach here.
Kind of reminded me of that ship we saw a lot of in Rogue One, the E-Wing.
Yeah.
It kind of had that similar vibe.
Oh, now this, boy, they smack us right in the face with this. We've got Kylo Ren. Looks like he's doing a WWF move here, like a clothesline.
Yeah.
On what appears to be you think, Jim, a Knight of Ren.
Yeah, I thought it was a member of the Knights. And he viciously clotheslines the guy down with his lightsaber.
Yeah, with
hand.
the lightsaber.
So he's clearly sticking one of those what do you call those little projections that come out the side? He's clearly sticking that in the guy's gut, and he throws him down. But if can we go back to that? Because I just want to point out something about the environment. Now here we are again seeing Kylo Ren involved in saber battle in his favorite environment, the woods. He loves, I mean, don't you just always think of Kylo with his saber in the woods?
Yeah.
He just loves it there.
He does.
He's like a Jedi or a Sith squirrel,
Now-
a dark side squirrel. But
Now
look
here-
at this place. Look at this environment now.
Yeah.
It's all sort of hued a reddish
Now,
hue.
this reminds me of the Last Jedi and the obsession that film had with red. But I think in this case, I think what we're looking at is fire. I think
That's what I think.
the
so too.
forest is on fire.
really?
Yes, it's a forest fire.
Yes.
And Smokey Bear ain't around when you need him. You have maniacs with red lightsabers slicing down. Now,
There's
I
a
do
trooper in the background.
There
right?
is
Yeah, there's a
trooper in
couple.
the background.
There are a couple.
Which at first I was wondering if this was going to be some sort of flashback, and then when I saw the stormtrooper, I thought, no, this is
It's a first order trooper.
It's a first order trooper. This is no flashback here. This isn't Kylo wiping out the Knights of Ren in some previous moment in the story. It's, I think, part of the story, and we'll get into that here later as this unfolds. And we're catching up. This is a very quick hit trailer. Okay, now we've got the repair of the Kylo Ren helmet. Bill, you were mentioning earlier that it's kind of had a weird series of possessions and the travel of it. But I can't help but think that you've got construction work that we saw happen on the Skywalker lightsaber. It's being mended together. And now Kylo Ren's helmet being mended together with this kind of eerie red glue. Eerie red super
Red
glue.
glue, yeah, sure.
Gorilla glue. That gorilla glue.
It turns clear when it dries, though.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, I'm wondering if that could be something forged from Mustafar. That red lava.
Oh, so he's putting like a little bit of mojo in it.
Yeah,
too.
I think so. Like the painters that bleed into their paint, that kind of.
Or what if it's blood?
What if
he somehow has this very rare and adhesive blood?
Who knows? I'm going to go back to that planet we see with Rey in the beginning. Do we think that could be Jakku?
Yeah, odds are it's either Jakku or it's Tatooine or it's Jakkuine.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a combination of both.
Yeah. Going back to Jakku here, we see Finn and Poe. Poe standing on some sort of I don't know,
rock formation.
Yeah.
Formation. Yes, he looks like he's in Arizona somewhere. Quite honestly,
What is that stack to the? What is that? He's holding. Finn is holding. Did they mention that in the panel? He's holding her Rey's staff there.
It does look like he's holding Rey's staff for sure.
Well, you know how you carry the water for some people? Well, he carries the staff.
And I think
He's on the staff.
this sequence they're all together too. I believe.
Yeah, I think that for most of the movie they're going to be together. There's Poe in the background with wearing his Alan Quartermain outfit.
He looks good.
Scars.
Man.
I do like
Very similar looks for both of those characters.
Yes. Here's Dio. Our first look at Dio, BB-8's new companion. And we could be looking here at the next, essentially, R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Well, I thought you were going to say romance in Star Wars.
I don't know. I don't care. That's not what I watched Star Wars
Maybe
for.
Dio is
you were gonna say the
BB-8's son or daughter.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, but we know that he's a friend for
Yes,
BB-8.
a buddy, a little buddy,
Little buddy.
little buddy. Here we go.
This is the money shot. We're greeted with a shot of Chewbacca back as the Harry co-pilot to the one, the only Lando Calrissian. And Lando lets out a big laugh. He is obviously delighted to be back in the cockpit and going into hyperspace. Still wearing that
awesome
Donald Glover yellow.
No, you said we're seeing Chewie back with Lando in the cockpit, but I don't ever recall Chewie and Lando piloting the Falcon together.
At the end of Empire Strikes Back. Jimmy Mack just threw the mic down. He's out.
Come on back.
All right,
It's okay.
all right.
We forgive you.
Wearing hands closed.
I will say
happens to
something
all
in
of us.
defense of
Why did
Jimmy
I
Mack.
forget that?
He may have had, if we're lucky, 3 hours of sleep last night. Okay, so that it happens. He was bunking with both of the boys. They're waking him up, yelling at him for snoring all night long.
Got
3 times.
hauntings, all kinds of some paranormal activity going on in this hotel too.
Absolutely.
We're staying in the most haunted hotel in Chicago. And there's a lot of history, and I think a lot of mobsters buried in the walls here. So,
if anybody's gonna track it all down, it's my nephews. They're really on that case.
They're on it. All right, so here's the Falcon jumping through hyperspace. And the saga comes to an end. That's the title that we see across the screen.
But back to Lando, though, it is great to see him there because he's laughing because it's been a long time since he felt the power of the Falcon at his fingertips, and he's making that jump to light speed.
He knows how to do all the moves, all the maneuvers.
And what's so great about these moments is that the characters are enjoying it, the actors are enjoying it, and us as the audience.
You feel it.
Yeah.
It's palpable.
Yeah.
And to see that moment with Billy D, number one, I'm relieved because I was afraid, I hope Lando will show up in a hologram or some kind of stupid crap like that. But no, behind the control, in the pilot seat of the Millennium Falcon even.
Yeah.
So even that is just thrilling. It's like victory accomplished.
Yeah, and I was just, there was a possibility that he might not even show up in the trailer at all because they were trying to, keep that moment special. Because this is the teaser trailer, not the full theatrical trailer. We'll be getting that probably later this summer, I would assume.
But it's full circle. I'm just dying to know what he's been doing. I mean, like, did he? I don't know. We could speculate for
what or who.
What?
Because he's got a daughter. We think that he might have a daughter.
Well, he's got that robot embedded in the computer on the Falcon, too.
Imagine what that reunion is like.
Guys.
How you doing, baby?
You got me thinking about the way Jana was looking. And, Jason, you said, like, a member of Enfys Nest crew, it gave you that idea.
Yeah.
What if we're going to find out Mrs. Calrissian is Enfys Nest? Do you think that's possible?
Wow.
Do you think that could happen?
Wow. He went back.
Or maybe he never left. No, he left. But
He left.
we all know he left. He was in that tropical place playing cards at the end of Solo.
Right.
But wouldn't that be some excellent way to really tie in the Solo film with the big picture, especially with the return of Lando in this film? I just, we always want to keep our universe, our Star Wars universe, like the neighborhood,
right?
Right. So of course, Anakin built 3PO. Of course, Luke randomly hooks up with his sister. Of course, it's a small neighborhood at the end of the day, and so to have Billy D with Enfys Nest. I think it would be a great way to really solidify the Solo film into the overall mythology.
I have my response to that is, and maybe you can relate to this. I grew up in the same town that I live in now, and I'm constantly coming back into contact with people that I knew younger as a kid, or I'm meeting their, people I knew, meeting their kids. It does happen. Now, I know that it's a galaxy far, far away, but you can't be so expansive when you're telling stories like this that there's never any repetition or there's never any, characters coming back. I agree that there needs to be balance, but I don't think that it's.
But I mean, real life is like that. There's all kinds of you hear about crazy coincidences happening with people. People who say we're separated at birth or something, and then they find out. Wow, my brother's been my neighbor this whole time. We were living 3 doors down from each other. We're good friends, or something crazy like that. It does happen. These strange coincidences do happen. And I don't want to go too far afield, but Boyega mentioned in the panel, he did make a comment that they were talking about closure for Finn and what that might be, and he did say something about his family too.
I didn't catch that.
So could there be Calrissian connection there. I remember when Force Awakens came out, that idea was raised, and a lot of people said it was very far-fetched. But, if there has been more of a master plan at work here, it wouldn't be that. I mean, he was. What we do know about him is that he was kidnapped. It sounds like, this is what I gathered.
Taken from a family I never knew.
His family and put into service as a trooper for the First Order. And, it could stand to reason that the First Order were taking the children away from people who led the rebellion against the Empire. They could have been targeted.
Interesting idea.
So it wouldn't be that far-fetched when you think about it.
Who better to build an army with?
Yeah.
The sons and daughters of warriors, and the irony being that they were the ones that top of the. So it's like
and the revenge angle. Yeah, exactly.
Revenge angle. Yeah,
there could be a plausible explanation for that.
Very cool.
So,
all right, more battle going on here on what we think might be Jakku or Tatooine, dealing with the desert planet. Oh, now this I feel, this gave me the Return of the Jedi feels, I got to say. So they're on some sort of I'm going to call it a skiff. I don't know, but it feels that way. We can see Poe and Finn and 3PO and someone else I can't make out. I think there's someone up here in the upper right of the screen, but 3PO getting jostled around. But 3PO's coverings remind me, the coloring reminds me a little bit of Return of the Jedi.
Absolutely. Tons of Return of the Jedi flashbacks going on here.
In fact, do you remember, in the cutscene of the sandstorm, and then the figures that Hasbro released for Return of the Jedi, they were wearing outfits very similar to that, with some scarves around their necks.
That's true.
And like that. He looks like Han Solo. Actually, Poe is looking like that action figure they made of Han Solo in the sandstorm from the deleted scenes. Line of the
I can see that
action figure.
I see that.
So a little battle going on here on some sort of a skiff. Now this raised some eyebrows. Here we're treated to our first look of Carrie Fisher as she is going to appear in the Rise of Skywalker, and we see a pair of hands caressing a medal from the Yavin base ceremony at the end of A New Hope.
Yeah.
Let the speculation begin. Bill and I were kind of
great.
going after it earlier as to whose medal it might be. Jim, what do you think? Whose medal does it make the most sense for that to be in this context?
Well, you have the three of them, because it is now canon that Chewie got the medal, right? So I think it is.
Blu-ray?
It was.
When did they add the
Back in the Marvel Comics adaptation from 1977, it said Chewie too will receive a medal. It's just they didn't give him one because Leia couldn't reach up.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
But he should have been given a medal.
They should have given him a medal,
Right.
or at least a box of milk bones or something. So that leaves us. I don't think it's Chewie's.
Yeah. All right.
So that leaves us with Han and Luke. I don't think it's Luke. Because I don't think Luke had too much attachment. I think he kind of outgrew the idea, like a monk. And I've always compared the Jedis to monk-like religious people who would just, give everything, including abandoning any sort of personal possession in the name of serving a higher power.
Vow of poverty.
The vow of poverty. And we saw Luke when we caught up with him in Act 2, or not Act 2, yes, Act 2, when he was living in isolation, he had minimal things in his quarters there. So it does appear that I don't think he would keep a bauble like that around from his past, especially the Luke we meet in The Last Jedi, someone who has really sort of condemned his own past. And I don't think that he would... I think he would have passed along his medal.
Right.
So that leaves us with Han Solo. Han Solo was murdered, when he was living his life. He'd just gotten the Falcon back. And he may have had the medal stashed somewhere in a safe place on the Falcon where Unkar Plutt or the other series of owners who had possession of the Falcon when Han lost
Duquesne,
the Irving boys. We know who you are. But, so maybe Han had it stashed away in a safe compartment in the Falcon, only he knew how to access. Yeah. And so after he regained ownership of the Falcon, and then, of course, Chewie then inherited it, and Rey, and so maybe Chewie pulls it out and shows it to Rey. The medal.
The medal.
Yes.
The medal. But it looks like it might be something that's presented to Leia from Rey, or perhaps it's presented to Rey from Leia. That's also a possibility. This is clearly a shot that was taken from production on The Force Awakens. You can tell by the hairstyle of Carrie Fisher, this embrace. So this might have been an alternate take of the hug that we see in The Force Awakens.
It seems very, very similar.
Very similar.
Chewie's still standing there scratching his head like, hey, I've been around for a little while. We do know each other.
Now, here's a shot of our new heroes. I mean, if anything sort of typifies the future of Star Wars from this saga, here
the present.
We've seen it.
The present.
We've seen it. Yeah,
Star
this
Wars.
is the present. We've got. This is what's going to be on lunchboxes and
Burger King glasses.
Burger King glasses. We've got this sort of a
team photo.
Lush, yeah, we've sort of got this lush, grassy background, and we see Chewie in the background, as well as BB-8 and Dio, C-3PO, and Rey, Poe, and Finn. This is the core of the adventure that we're about to
Noticeably
see.
absent, R2-D2.
No R2-D2.
What are you saying?
Now, R2-D2 was on the stage. He came out with
He
Anthony.
did. And they did reveal there's that big mural inside the convention center hall that had representation from all points of the saga. And at the very end, the far left or the far right end, it was covered in black cloth. And then they revealed what was under there. And there was no spoilers in there. It was a menacing shot of Kylo Ren wielding his saber. It was Rey in white holding her saber, and R2 and 3PO were there.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I want to believe that R2 does play a role in this film. Something I hope of substance. The thing that I always
Wait, is R2 in this trailer at all?
Well, slow down.
Okay.
The thing that I always expect from a Star Wars film is at least one or two moments when all is lost and R2 saves the day. He just saves the day. He does something to save the day. He twists the knob and the ship goes off in a hyperspace. And, you know, the little comical moment with R2 afterwards, and he's chirping, and we all know that overconfident little glob of grease did it again. So that's what I want. That's the personality I put on R2. You know, he's the hero. He is the hero, and I don't see him here in this team photo of Chewie, BB-8, Dio, 3PO, Rey, Finn, and Poe. I think the team photo is incomplete.
And with that, we're going to take a brief pause and
have room service. Yeah.
Rebel Force Radio, your new source for the Force.
No one's ever really gone.
And there you have it. The downed wreckage of what we should assume is the Death Star 2. But there's no confirmation here. We don't know. We can't see that it's been partially constructed because we're looking at the destroyed remnants of a Death Star. But do we have any confirmation based on what we're seeing visually? I mean, one would assume that if this was the Death Star 2, definitively, we'd be looking at Endor in this case.
The fourth moon of Endor, or maybe the third moon of Endor. You never know where the wreckage all actually ended up
That's true.
If it got pulled into an atmosphere, which we can presume it did, and you have to assume that this is the Death Star 2 because they definitely infer in the way that this video was edited that Palpatine is hanging out in there. Because the next shot you have is it goes all black and you hear the laughter, the cackle. Palpatine. So I think we're seeing the Death Star 2. You clearly see the outline of the laser dish ray, or the laser ray dish. You see the outline of the equator. you see the outline. No. You see the outline of the equator.
Ecuador, they fight bulls.
And you see this wreckage on a planet that does not resemble the forest moon of Endor.
No, but you got some wheatgrass there. This could be a coast somewhere. You know, it's a big planet type of world. Right? I mean, it could be. I mean, a planet could have all kinds of different topography. And
that's
true.
And
the connection, I think, is of course the Death Star 2. It's got to be with the Emperor. But when you say the Emperor's hanging out in there, I mean, what is he like in a hot tub or what? I mean, what type of form do you think we're gonna see the Emperor? I mean. There was that idea. Remember we were talking about? There was that idea in the Art of the Force Awakens book about, and maybe you guys know what they had in mind with the idea that the part of the Death Star, the throne room in particular, was submerged in water,
right?
And I guess that was going to be explored at some point for some kind of artifact or some kind of object that would prove to be the
perhaps a Sith holocron, something that would impart wisdom onto, the future of the dark side warriors of the Force. I'm working very hard here not to use any expanded universe vocabulary or saying, oh, these are Sith users or these are dark Jedi, what have you. But that there would be some sort of artifact or some sort of hollow recordings. And that's really what kind of this comes down to, is that the big reveal of this trailer is that Palpatine is back in some form.
That's right.
So what form? Are we looking at hollow recordings? Are we looking at a cloned Emperor? Are we looking at a Darth Maul type situation? Where Darth Maul was also thrown down a very large chute of some sort on Naboo, but yet somehow managed to survive. Would it be poetic justice that a very similar fate happened to Palpatine, and he was able to hold on through his hatred and somehow find a way to survive? What do you think we could be dealing with as far as the form, the shape of the Emperor?
Also, don't forget the video game that introduced those Sentinels.
Right.
That were essentially droids programmed with Palpatine's personality and a plan B to carry it through.
Yes.
Those Sentinels, that sort of technology reminds me of the technology that Marlon Brando's Jor-El used in the original Superman to pass along his knowledge and his essential being to his son.
You're talking about
post-mortem.
the crystals.
Yeah, I'm talking about the crystals in the Fortress of Solitude, where you had an interactive Jor-El that could communicate with his son on a personal level, despite the fact that he had been dead for thousands of light years or whatever.
Right.
So maybe we could be seeing Palpatine's essence being carried on forward, his plan B being carried through. If you look at it through the eyes of the sort of technology that brought Jor-El to Clark Kent in the Fortress of Solitude.
I'll say the one thing that I love about this, in addition to, a somewhat confirmation that we'll be seeing Ian McDiarmid's version of the Emperor is that what I really loved about The Force Awakens is that it was consistently reminding us of where we were. And we were in that Star Wars universe, that post-Return of the Jedi era of the Star Wars universe, where you saw these relics of the great galactic war. And so this is, to me, like the scene when you understand in the initial trailer that it's a downed AT-AT that is housing Rey. This, I think, is really important here because it goes back to JJ's original vision of a post-Return of the Jedi saga and what we would have these constant reminders of what we had already been through.
Consequences.
Right.
You know, consequences of what we've seen before. I love that. You know, I mean, we were talking, oh boy, I hate to even bring up Star Trek 2, but I did watch it recently. And
Jason
it made me
loves
go back.
that movie.
It is a great movie. And I went back to, it made me watch the original episode that Khan was Ricardo Montalban appeared in on the original series. And, you know, I mean, what a cool idea. I love that, you know, that you would go back that far to take a character and then bring him back in a movie. You know, the stories are good for a reason, and it's great to see that the decisions made in the older stories have consequences on the current time. So I was you know, we had talked before about the reintroduction of the Emperor, and I know, Jim, you speculated on it in some earlier episodes we did that I sat in on. So I didn't think that they would be doing this, and obviously it looks like they're going to do it in some form. And so, yeah, I mean, it's you know, I think at the time I said that if they did that, it's going to be really tricky because now they have to reintroduce an old character and explain how he's coming back, which is going to be kind of hard, especially if you think that if this is the end of the saga. I think we may be assuming that they're going to have to wrap up the Emperor's story too. That may not be the case, but
I think that's essential to the entire saga.
It would
itself.
make sense, wouldn't it? I mean, why would you leave us hanging with the Emperor still being out there?
The entire saga is kickstarted by Palpatine. He is the Phantom Menace. Episode 1 pays tribute to him in its title. He is the one who starts everything in motion, and everything that happens is in response to his machinations and manipulations. Everything is a counter reaction to the stuff he's doing. He's absolutely essential to be a presence in the final chapter of this saga.
Yeah, in that sense, it'll tie in all 9 movies. There's no doubt about that. It makes it harder, I do believe that, but I mean, man, I'm not exactly complaining either because it's
hell no.
I mean, the chills went up my spine when I heard the laughter at the end. And did you guys recognize this as the Death Star the moment you saw it?
No, not in the actual auditorium, not in the Wintrust Arena today, not from our perspective. We couldn't quite make it out, but we knew it was some sort of location of importance.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, I wasn't sure what I saw. Could it have been what? You know, it was like, was that the Death Star? You know, and then we started talking about it. Holy crap, it is.
But now, you know, with the benefit of YouTube and freeze frame, we can clearly see that it has a lot of the characteristics of the Death Star surface and characteristics like that big laser dish. So yeah, we're bringing it all back. We're bringing it all home, and I certainly hope that we learn more about Rey in this. I certainly hope that she's given some sort of strong connection to the personalities and players who have been basically pushing all of the events forward. And this whole idea of Rey from nowhere, I think, will be dispelled in some way. I still think that she could be chosen one, much like Anakin. She could be conceived of the midichlorians, thus giving her no real legit parents. But also she could be a product of the cloning technology, which is also something we know has been very prevalent in the saga, especially in the prequel. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's go around the table, starting with Billy Mack. Trailer, first teaser trailer for episode 9.
Oh, boy. A 1 to 10 scale. Oh, God, I hate doing these type of things. I would say a 7.
A 7. So that's pretty good. Your reaction seems pretty positive, but not overwhelming. Now, you did say you had chills when you heard Palpatine's cackle there at the end before the title card, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, this December. But so you had the chills. I mean, so for a trailer to produce that kind of emotional reaction out of you, then I'd say that it's probably a special event more than just your average.
It was great. Was it as great as Chewie? We're home.
Okay.
I don't know. That's kind of my gold standard at this moment because when I saw that trailer, I had just arrived in Anaheim and you guys were already in full force. I was kind of arriving a little bit later than you, and but I was in my hotel and watching that on my phone and was fist pumping to that moment. That's hard to duplicate.
So
there's a bitter, 7 because there's a bittersweet quality to it. I don't know what the state of Luke is going to be. There's so little information given too, and it's all tantalizing. There's always a frustrating quality of a teaser, That's why it's a tease. It whets the appetite. So,
all right. Well, better question then, instead of a scale of 1 to 10, how does this rank among all-time Star Wars trailers, in your opinion? And let's really get specific about that. Let's base it on purely emotional response that it got out of you on the first viewing.
I would say, well, let's see. All Star Wars trailers. I mean, shoot, I can't even remember seeing all of them.
Well, the burden's not on you. I mean, you'll whatever you think is your favorite will come to your mind right away.
The ones that stand out to me are Episode 2 with there's a glimpse of clone army in that teaser. That definitely sent a chill up my spine. Chewie, we're home. That may be.
Is that the gold standard?
That's the gold standard.
What about you, Jason? What do you think? How does this rank among all-time trailer moments that get a emotional reaction out of you?
I would have to put it probably in as far as the most recent films. If you look at the 5 films in the post Disney acquisition era, I would say that this is probably the 3rd. I don't think anything will ever top The Force Awakens. I don't know that it really tops The Last Jedi. I think the reason I'm so excited about it is that it did surpass my expectations. And when you look at what we saw with The Force Awakens, you truly will never, I don't think, top that moment. Chewie, Han, together again.
And the Luke voiceover.
As well as that Luke voiceover. Yeah. Chilling. And then with The Last Jedi, I also thought that it was great. We're finally getting Luke Skywalker. It's time for the Jedi to end. We were going to learn why Luke said that. Why would he make such a crazy claim for someone who's been through everything that he's been through? Now, in that instance, the movie didn't quite pan out the way, at least I wanted it to. But this feels like it's, I don't want to say a reboot, that's not the right term, but I think it's a bit of a reset of, does it come too late? I don't know. We'll find out. But I think it's a bit of a reset. And so it really was the rise of my expectations after having seen it, that I'd still put it in the certainly third place of the post Disney acquisition trailers.
So after finally seeing your first footage of The Last Jedi, would you say you're more excited about it? I know I am.
Yeah, definitely more excited. I've been saying to people all day that, we came to this convention really thinking to ourselves that The Mandalorian was going to be the moment.
No, it still might be.
Right, it may be. But what the last Episode 9 trailer has done is that it's given me the confidence that I should, yes, still be very excited about what we're going to see in December of 2019.
Rebel Force Radio.